Welcome. This is the War Duck, and we're here with the bird's eye view. I got Hardcase and Mr. Crow.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
And so today I wanted to talk about Simone Biles in relationship to parenting. And so, if those of you that don't know, which means you were been under a rock or whatever, the Olympics happened and Simone Biles was supposed to go and be the next greatest thing in the world, and not that she already isn't, but the even better because now it'd be in the Olympics for the second time. And after her first event, she felt mentally, I don't want to say unstable because that's not the right word. Mentally unprepared to deal with the competition stressors or whatever. And she got lost when she was in the air or something. And she quit or pulled out but basically quit at the Olympics and left everybody that was there basically in the wind. Now, as an aspect of self-preservation and injury and such and longevity in her career, agree it was the exact right decision for her to quit at the time.
Yep.
Because she didn't feel right doing it and she didn't want to risk injury. And I agree with that situation. However, I think there was some things leading up to it, and I think there was some and the other aspect of, is she the greatest of all time, is now, I think that question's a little different now. Because to me, when you talk about these greats and these greatest of all time, they are people that overcame adversity, that did things that most people can't do, and surpassed the normal expectations of performance. I mean, what do you guys think about what the greatest of all time means to you guys? In anything.
No, I think I somewhat agree with you there because as I was thinking and reading the stories and hearing things, granted, Duck, you and I are a little more closer in age, and I'm not sure hard case, but some things that come to my mind were Michael Jordan, right? And I know he's been in the news about this and this and that, but I remember when he was playing in the playoffs, and you would always hear like, "Oh, Michael Jordan, he had a fever, he had a flu or
Yep, he had the
whatever
flu.
before, whatever it was that he always had." No, I don't want to say always, but I remember and recall that there were times where he was playing the game, but yet not feeling his 100%. He either had the flu or something was wrong, but he still stuck to it. And so, yeah, I kind of I agree with what you're saying. There are some things that they overcome at that time, that adversity.
Now, I've heard this
Yeah.
argument used against Simone Biles with Michael Jordan, and I've heard the responses to him of, "Oh yeah, but Michael Jordan's dad was killed, and he retired and he quit basketball altogether." And I'm like, okay, sure. Before the season started, he didn't play an entire season because his dad was just murdered.
Yeah.
That's not quitting in the middle of a game or the middle of season or the middle of competition.
Correct.
Yes, he retired
Definitely.
several times, or twice, or three times, whatever. But it wasn't in the middle of the playoffs in game 5 or game 7. It's like, hey guys, you know what? I'm just not into it right here. I just gotta quit today. Sorry. Go have fun in game 7 by yourselves. Right.
I mean, yeah, let's look at Michael Jordan, right? When he tried to pursue a career in baseball, right? He was not the greatest. He was not good. The media was all over him and just saying how horrible he was. But go back and look at that career. Granted, he was not great, but he didn't quit. He finished that season. Exactly what you're saying, Duck.
And
I agree.
Yeah.
I know that, hard case, you don't have, like, I don't know if you watched Michael Jordan back in the day, and being not in America, I don't.
Mm.
Okay, because I don't know what's your guys' point of view of like, do you guys do like the greatest of all time in the NBA, or do you guys like that's not our sport? We play soccer,
Yeah,
football
I
here.
guess.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
guess so. Yeah, because it's not our kind of sport, so
but
it's
you
kind
guys
of one of
have
those
greatest
things
of all
like.
time conversations, right? With like soccer or football or whatever the hell you
Yeah,
call
I
it.
guess yeah. When it comes to football, like I guess for me, what I would class as being like one of the greatest of all times would be David Beckham. He was a solid football player, great career, never gave up, always pioneering to be the best at what he does. So, and it's kind of that similar thing, like with Michael Jordan. Like I don't know much about him, but I knew that he was the best of the best, and he never really gave up on what he did. And he wasn't one to quit when the times got hard. And that's similar to what like David Beckham and people like that when it comes to football and stuff. Like they just don't quit; they
Okay,
just
now
keep on and keep going. So
I want to circle this back to Simone Biles because what she's able to accomplish in world champions and other things, and all the stuff leading up to the Olympics is stuff that people can't do. Nobody else can do what she can do. And
mm,
so for that, I mean, she's doing these moves in practice and stuff that she puts on the internet that nobody can do. In fact, I heard some rumors the Olympics told her that they would dock her points if she did some of these moves because it was an unfair advantage that nobody can do what she can do. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't doubt it in the sake of like Olympics, right? Because as much as they are about competition, they're also about not making you look like you're beyond competing
Yeah.
against, if that makes sense.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true. It's just kind of what I've read and what I heard that she was told a lot of things. But here's okay. Now we talked about. I fully agree it was for her the right decision not to get hurt, to pull out if
Agree.
she wasn't into it.
Yeah.
However, now this is where I think is she was talking about the pressure and stuff, right? And about how mentally she wasn't quite in the right mindset. And this is where I get to thinking about, okay, pressure from what? And because it was pressure from the media and the fan base and all these other things. And to me, that is self-created, right? Why the are you on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram posting all this shit for fans, listening to all the fan comments, and then you get to the Olympics and you're like, oh, the pressure, I can't do the pressure. To me, that was like you set yourself up for failure. If you're not mentally strong enough to deal with the pressure that you create from the fan base, then maybe you shouldn't do that, right? I mean, go be a hermit and compete. And then when you go to the Olympics, you don't know what anybody's saying about you. You just go and compete.
Yeah, so the Olympics that's enough pressure already because you're already the apex of what you're doing, and it's like there's no need to add even more by throwing the social media aspect in it because then that is a whole new world of like pressure because you're just throwing it out there so much. So yeah,
Right.
it's a bit crazy to double down on it. Yeah.
And then I thought about the totality, because she's done world champions. So why is it different? And then there was some, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard something mention that somebody in her family had passed away. And it might have just been the complete perfect storm of Olympics, fan pressure, media pressure, loss in the family, loss in the real life family, and then
Mm.
all of that all at one time hitting you when you were either unprepared or um, don't have the tools to fully right yourself before competition. It sounded like it was possible the perfect storm. Now it
Yeah.
gets to the real point of this video is I have two twin 5-year-old daughters. We all have kids. We're all parents. And one of the things that I don't allow in my house is the word can't. I can't stand the phrase I can't. I can't stand the word can't. It drives me insane. Especially because my twins don't want to try things. They just want to use it as an excuse. So
Mm.
we're watching the Olympics, and then they're like, well, why isn't Simone Biles competing? And I'm like, how do you explain to a 5-year-old that she quit because of mental health? Well, no matter how you cut it, she's not competing because she decided not to, right? Like I said, I agree with her decision not to do what she thought was dangerous and to get hurt and jeopardize her career. But as celebrating as a role model and as the greatest of all time, I I got caught where they were asking questions that I didn't have an answer to, and I wasn't thrilled about that situation. So, how do you guys use? I know that Crow, you got way older, not way older, but twice
I've
as
got
older
older.
children than I
Yeah.
have. And hard case, I know you got a son. So how do
Hmm.
you guys use the I can't or quitting? How do you combat that, or how do you teach that, or like what skills do you guys use?
I'll let you go first, hard case, because
Oh,
I'm
okay.
thinking over here too.
Yeah, no worries. Well, for me, like, I just try and be honest and truthful. Like, if there's a question that he wants to know and something that he wants to know, I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat what's going on. So, if in this situation we were watching it and he asked, how come she's not she's left, she's not doing things, and I would try and explain it in the best way possible without making it seem too confusing, but trying to make it so he can understand himself. So, that's I always try and just go with honesty. It's always the best policy kind of
Right.
thing. So,
So how old's your son?
he's just a little over 3 years old. So, he's still learning. He's still quite young. So,
Okay, so when he gets to I want you to do this and he's like I can't. How are you
mm,
going to approach that situation?
um, I guess it would just be the sense of, like, if you feel like you can't, like, that's okay, but there's no harm in trying. You never know what you're capable of doing unless you give something a try. Like, you can try something, there's no harm in trying something once, no matter what it may be. Because, if you fail at it, it's okay. It's not a bad thing if you fail at something because, just maybe that wasn't something that you have the skill set to do, but as long as you keep trying at stuff and don't give up on trying and always at least try something once, like it's same for me. Like when I grew up, I would always try and do things. Like I would always push myself. Like if there's something new that I never done before, I'm gonna go give it a go. Like and see whether I enjoy it or not. So kind of that balance kind of thing. That's how I would try and play it my best way. So
Mr. Crow?
Um, the only thing that comes to my mind is I've always tried to teach my kids, and they're like, "Well, I can't," or "Yeah, I'll try." And I've always taken, some kind of object that's around us, and I'll just hold it in my hand, and I'm like, "All right, I want you to try to take this out of my hand." And if they take it out of your hand, I always be like, "No, no, no, no! You took that out of my hand. I want you to try." And so then they sit there and they're like, they put it back, and they're like, and then they don't do it and they're like, okay, did I do it? And I'm like, no, now you didn't do it at all. Like you got to try. And so
So
they're
you
stuck
like
in
to
this
further
this
confuse them into
yeah for yeah.
trying.
But we sit there and they're like, well, either I do it or I don't. And I'm like, exactly. Either you do it or you don't. If you don't do it, then you learn from it and you try to move forward and you figure out how to do it. If you do it, then great, you succeed. And there, it's something that I've always tried to. It comes down to what Hardcase is also saying too. Is you be honest. You be honest with
mm,
yourself. I cannot get that because this is what I see as the outcome. So then okay, then you can't do it. You give a reason. But I don't know. I don't know if that really answers your question, Duck, because that still puts you in a hard
So
situation. But
so when I was growing up, like my mom didn't give me a choice. Is hey, guess what? You're going to play soccer. You're going to play
mm,
baseball. You're going to. There wasn't. No, I don't want to, or I can't. It was like you're going to do this, whether you're good
yep,
at it or not. That's sorry for you, but you're going to
yep,
do it. And
Yeah.
like I didn't really have the choice of I can't, right? It was never a thing to me. And then when I was in the military, it's not something in the military vocabulary, right? It's
Mm.
there isn't I quit because of mental healthness or mental health. There isn't I quit because something I might get injured. There isn't I quit because of catastrophic injury or death. It is you go and do what you have to do. Like I thought about during this segment showing a video of the only recorded Medal of Honor recipient, uh, but it's a little bit too tragic for this video in parenting. I didn't want to get into it, but basically the premise of this is this guy and his group were assaulting a hill, and he gets shot multiple times, and they get ambushed, and all his guys are separated, and he gets up and he starts fighting again to protect an incoming helicopter and all these other guys that are down below this hill that are getting shot at and stuff. And then he gets shot again and again and again, and he just keeps getting up. And at one point, he's out for like hours, right? And then he gets back up and he goes back and he's fighting again until eventually he just can't go anymore. But I'm like,
Mm.
you talk about these people that are the greatest of all time that quit because it's too stressful. And then you go to the other extreme of these people in the military that there isn't the I can't, right? There isn't the it's too stressful or I'm scared, I can't do it. That's not an option. That is not an option, and that just can't be in your vocabulary. So for me, as a veteran and as a dad, I don't want to even foster the thought of I can't. Right? Is there's a way to overcome almost anything? It's just a matter of how are you able to put that thought process of if I just try enough times, I can do this. Versus if I think through this, there's another way to do this, not just I can't or I might get injured, right? Because
Exactly.
if it was I might could get injured, we would never be flying. The Wright brothers would have never fly. We would have never went to space, right? We wouldn't have nearly all the stuff that we have now because people would just be like, it was too stressful, I just quit, right? I didn't want to do it, or it was too much risk of injury. And that's what I don't want at 5 years old the twins to think that that's a possibility that they can quit for one reason or another, or I tried once or twice and I didn't do it, so I guess I can't at that point, right? I That's where I struggle with this aspect of instilling in them to adapt and overcome, which is kind of like the military model, right? Is adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
If you can't just do it, adapt and overcome, whether that's physically, mentally, or by the assistance of some tool or whatever. It's adapt and overcome and accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Mm.
I want to lean more toward that without being I want it to be their idea, so I try not to like I don't want to be overbearing with it, right? But I don't want them
Yeah, of
to
course.
just give up because it's hard or because they're afraid. Because that's the odd like the twins are smart. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm scared." You're scared to go play
Mm.
soccer, right? Come on, that's not like. But that's they'll immediately they're smart. They'll immediately pick out what it is to
Yep.
get what they want out of it, and it's not to do it. It's either I'm
Yeah.
scared or I'm gonna get hurt or I just don't want to. Right? They'll find whatever it is, and that's the excuse they'll use. And I don't want that to be the thing that because they already do it now, and like I said, I don't even allow the word can't in my house, and they're already like, oh, I'm scared, or there's too many people, or I don't know, some excuse. They just come up with excuses not to do things, and that drives me nuts because like try it once. Even with food, my wife has this thing that you have to at least try food one time. A no
Mhm.
thank you bite, I think, is what she calls it, right? So they at least take
Yeah.
a bite, and if they don't like it, it's just like no thank you. Okay, fine, you at least tried it, right? But the same thing is they'll eat a chicken nugget one day, and then the next day they'll be out. No thank you. You're like, you just ate it yesterday. It's the same chicken nugget, and they're oh, it's too spicy. It's like because they got away with too spicy before, so now everything's too spicy. It's like
Ice is so hot.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, or it's hot, right? And then
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we'll let it sit. Oh, now it's too cold. It's like, oh my god. But this is like one of a huge thing for us is like I don't want to use I can't, and this is where the Simone Biles thing really put me in a bind. Is how do I use her as that role model when all they see is, well, she didn't have to do it, why do I?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it really hard is now like I got to keep prefacing because people be all over it and says I agree with the decision she made, and I think she is a
Yeah.
fantastic athlete. And as a person, what I've seen is her outreach and that stuff is she's an extremely good person. I just think she put herself in bad position by creating her celebrityness, I guess. And then that pressure of being the celebrity is kind of what got to her. But I don't know what got to her, with it was a perfect storm of everything or not. But that's where I fall into. It was easy to use Michael Jordan as a role model because yes, he retired because his dad died, but okay. But during competition, he never quit, and he overcame things like the flu on the playoff game that was do or die, and he goes out there and scores 35 and wins the game anyway, right? With the flu. I mean, good God, some days I can't barely get out of bed with the flu. And this guy's
Yeah.
running around playing basketball, hitting amazing shots.
Yeah.
And so it was easy to use people like him as a role model. And I don't know, it's weird. And like Crow's been a parent a lot longer than myself or Hardcase. So I'm like, okay, Mr. Crow, I mean, so like show us the way, right? Show us the way.
Yeah. Give us your pearls of wisdom.
It's tough. I mean, it's you don't ever want to see your kids just all out fail. You know, like I myself, I always want to see him to at least try. I had one of my oldest son actually was a wrestler, and that was one thing mentality he got in his head too is he's going to go out there and try. He's like, well, I can't take this guy. I'm like, no, you can take this guy. You got to give it your all. Like it's if you've already saying you can't, you have already beat yourself, and he hasn't even done a thing yet. It was just that mentality of you've got to try. You've got to figure things out. And he's like, well, he's got this move, and I'm like, well, then counter it. Figure out what to do to counter that thing. Um, it goes back to all the paintball that I've done too. It's like these guys are so good. They've got these lanes that are just on point, and they're like, okay, so figure it out. You know what we know what they're doing. How do you do it? How do you counter that? And I don't know. Sometimes there's a way. Sometimes there isn't. But at least you always give yourself. You've tried because you've at least moved forward and learned from that. And I think that's what I've always tried to teach my kids is if you don't try it, you're guaranteed to fail it, and you didn't learn anything from it. But if you've tried, you're going to learn something from it, and you can apply that to your life in the future somehow, some way, somehow.
So what was your son's? Did your son have like a role model, or I hate role model, but I mean
like a hero or an
yeah,
idol or
like
whatever,
like a
whatever you
Michael
want to.
Jordan that they looked up to or something?
Um, I honestly don't. I don't know if he has like. I don't think he looks at one specific person. He looks at all sorts of things. You know, like right now he's big into photography, but he just looks at just everything that people do. It's not just. I don't know if he has just one person. So I couldn't answer that because I don't. I've never I've never seen or heard him talk of just one person.
Right now, my girl's hero is Barbie. Drives me nuts.
That's a good role
But at
model,
least
I
she's
guess.
nice, right? At least she's nice and always trying to help people and stuff. But
Yeah.
see what you get to look forward to, hard case. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I
Barbie.
know. Yeah,
mean,
it's
hopefully it's
well,
not
yeah.
Barbie.
Well,
But
if he wants Barbie to be his role model, that's cool with me. You know, yeah, it's a tough one. You know, like
you don't want Barbie in your life, bro.
probably not. No.
There's so much I can't even. There's.
There's so much.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
They even have the same Barbie dolls, but they're like, I don't know. They're the same, but they're different. I don't know. You got
Yeah.
One's
Barbie
blonde,
and Barbie
one's brunette,
Roberts,
one's red.
but that's not the same thing. And then, yeah, and then the Barbie cartoons, like, oh,
Indeed.
so get this shit. So they wanted to watch this one specific flipping Barbie cartoon, right? But so I flipped on the Amazon Prime and I put it on the kids their little profile, and we searched for it. We found it, but it wouldn't play on their kids' parental
They're under
controlled
that
Barbie thing. And I was like,
That's
is this why all these Barbies are showing up on my fucking recommended feeds? Because they've been watching it on my channel. The wife was like, well, it didn't work, so I put it on your... I was like, oh my god. So, so now, like...
Duck has a secret
Yeah,
fetish.
they're like, hey,
Duck
here's the next
secretly likes
Barbie
Barbie.
episode. I'm like, what the hell?
Dang.
So, all right. So, yeah. So what I'm hearing from Mr. Crow is just keep making them try and don't let them fail without trying. And to steer away from role models because they let you down.
Oh yeah, so true.
Yeah, I just think when it comes to parenting, it's a hard line because you try your influences and what you base. For me, what I base my parenting skills that I have is on how I've grown up and what my parents have done for me. So, and for everyone, it's always different. Like how, like for Duck, he has his army background, and that is, you know, like so that's kind of been instilled in him, and so you're trying to use that as your way to teach your kids because that's what you know. Like, and it's similar for me, you know, like in the sense that I've always just been taught to be polite, be honest, and be upfront about things, and always give everything a try. You know, don't be scared of what it may be, as long as you give it a try. You know, there's no harm in that. So that's why I always think like everyone's parenting techniques are going to be slightly different
Yeah.
depending on how they were brought up. So
Well, I can't use parenting techniques that they used when I was growing up. I'm not allowed to like get the
yeah, I
belt or
guess,
the
yeah.
wooden spoon and be like, "What'd you say to me?"
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. A magic wand
Definitely,
when
yeah.
I was young wasn't Harry Potter, I'll tell you that. The magic wand was the hanger in the closet, and that thing hurt.
Yeah.
All
Forget the wand.
So, all
My
right,
dad
this is
definitely
going
had a bit of a
bit.
firm hand.
Yeah, it's
But,
going
you
a
know.
little bit long, so we're gonna wrap this up here. So let us know in the comments what you guys think about you know, I can't and what techniques do you use in your parenting to help out with situations like this. I'd be very interested to read some of those and maybe incorporate your guys' idea if they're not too bad. Twisted, we ain't listening to you, man. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment, leave a like. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your parenting ideas are and how you handle it. But with that, we're out of here for now. Much love, all.
All right. See you, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
Hit the bell.